Glasgow, 1969. Known for grift and graft, but even here, some tales still rattle the bones. This is one of them. Howard Wilson, born 1938, a bright lad from a decent family, schooled at Glasgow Academy. Wilson joined the City of Glasgow Police Force in 1958. At age 20, earning 9 commendations over a decade, but promotions eluded him, and frustration festered. Wilson left the force in 1968 to open the Orchard greengrocer in Mount, Florida. It was unsuccessful. With mountain debt and a young family, he became desperate. It was at the Bears Den Gun Club he met Ian Donaldson and John Sim. Donaldson, also 31, was a mechanic with 3 kids and a wife. Sim, also married with a young child, just 22, had been booted from the police force just after 2 years, deemed unlikely to ever become an effective constable. He collected guns. He was fascinated by them. Over drinks and cards, a plan was hatched to rob a bank and to clear their debts. On July 1969 at 3:30 p.m, dressed smart, faces masked in nylon stockings, Wilson, Donaldson, Sim and a getaway driver, Archie McGeechy, stormed the British Linen Bank in Williamwood. Armed with a Russian Vostok 22 pistol and ammonia-filled plastic containers, they threatened staff, bound them up and forced them to open the safe. They left with £20,876 British pounds. Not bad, but not enough. They managed to pay their debts, their rents, but a few months later, they were skint again. In December, plans for another heist were laid. McGeechy backed out. 2 days before Christmas, he vanished without a trace. Some say he ended up in the concrete pillars of the Kingston Bridge. On the 30th of December, Sim scoped the Clydesdale Bank in Linwood, around 15 miles from Glasgow. The next day at 3:15 p.m, the three entered unmasked, they tied up staff, waved weapons and emptied safes.
Everybody stay still! Don't move!
Total haul, £14,212 British pounds. They drove straight to Wilson's flat at 51 Allison Street, Govan Hill, yards from Craigie Street police station. As the gang unloaded the loot, Inspector Andrew Hislop and Constable John Sellers passed by. Hislop spotted Wilson, recognised him. He was unaware of any robbery at the time, but having introduced firearm training in the area and known Wilson, a former trainee, had left the force, he suspected the 3 men were involved in handling stolen goods. Suspicious, he left PC Sellers to watch and returned with backup. Wilson greeted them calmly. Inside the flat, Donaldson was drinking beer on a suitcase of coins. Sim looked haunted. Inspector Hislop opened the case. Full of cash, what he first thought was a case of stolen goods turned out to be more sinister. He demanded to see the black box which he had seen them with minutes earlier. Wilson snapped. He grabbed the pistol and shot Hislop in the face. Hislop hit the floor and officers ran for cover. PC Sellers hid in the bathroom and radioed for help. Constable Barnett rushed out the kitchen and was shot in the head. DC Mackenzie stepped out the living room, was shot once, then again, execution style. Robert Ian Donaldson would jump out the ground floor window to escape the madness. With Inspector Hislop still breathing, Wilson tried to finish him off.
Your turn now, Andy.
The gun jammed. DC John Campbell would see this, then tackled Wilson to the floor in a brutal struggle, retrieving the gun. Sim froze in fear as Wilson screamed for him to help. PC Sellers' radio call had brought more officers after Wilson was unsuccessful in entering the bathroom to kill him. Wilson and Sim were arrested immediately. At the time of the arrest, Wilson asked to apologise to DC Mackenzie's wife June, as he knew her personally. Other than that, he had no remorse. DC Angus Mackenzie, dead at the scene. PC Edward Barnett, died in Victoria Hospital 5 days later. Wilson pled guilty, a first in Scottish legal history for a double murder. He got life with a 25-year minimum. Donaldson and Sim got 12 years for robbery after having their murder and attempt murder charges dropped, and Wilson would go on to confess. He'd missed the death penalty with just weeks. DC Mackenzie and Barnett were posthumously awarded the Queen's Police Medal for gallantry. Hislop and Campbell received the George Medal. All 5 officers received the Glasgow Cooperation Medal for bravery, including survivor PC John Sellers. Hislop survived, badly wounded, eventually forced to resign in 1971. He died in November 2000, aged 74. That day's events had haunted him until his death. Wilson served time, caused trouble in prison riots, wrote a novel in prison, and was controversially released in September 30th, 2002 under the Human Rights Act. He died in 2023 in Aberfeldy, Perth. What began as a scheme to clear debts turned into one of the darkest days in Scottish policing history. The Allison Street murders remain a brutal reminder about the dangers of get-quick schemes. This has been the Obscure Beacon. Like and subscribe for more.